We researched Saudi Arabia. We learned about the cultural and religious aspects of this country and also terrorism that takes place in Saudi Arabia.
In Saudi Arabia, there are many traditions that affect their lives. One is Mecca and the yearly pilgrimage to Mecca. Many people living in Saudi Arabia participate in this event. If you are a healthy and able Muslim, it is required to visit Mecca once in your life.
Saudi Arabia is a country ruled by monarchy. There has been a family line of kings that have been controlling Saudi Arabia for decades. Saudi Arabia is a very strict and conservative country due to the fact that their constitution is the Quran, their holy text.
Recently, Obama made a visit to Saudi Arabia, and there's been lots of tension surrounding the visit. This trip was to show the strengthened relationship that the U.S. has with Saudi Arabia. This relationship is mainly built around oil and security, although neither country seems to know what they want from this alliance. Ben Rhodes, a deputy national security advisor, said, "For many years, the basic interest at the root of the U.S.-Saudi relationship was that they provided the oil that sustained the global economy, and we provided essential security for the Saudi state, and we really didn't think of any other aspect of it at a great length." Also on this trip, President Obama talked to the president of Saudi Arabia on how to relieve tensions in Yemen, Iraq, and Syria. But many are unhappy because recent documents reveal the part that Saudis played in 9/11. Back in the U.S., Republicans and Democrats are trying to pass a bill that the Obama administration has lobbied against. This bill would make Saudi Arabia liable for any part they played in 9/11. With the bill taking place here and increased tensions in the Middle East, many are questioning Obama's visit. Marjan and I think that this trip was a good thing. This trip broadened the relationship of these two countries, and the two presidents worked on solutions for tensions in the Middle East, which is something that we can all benefit from. There are certain restrictions for women that impact their lives. Women can work in a variety of fields, yet they only represent 7% of the formal Saudi Arabian workplace. Also, women can't drive and they have to wear modest clothing. Although these restrictions aren't as harsh as in other conservative countries, they still greatly impact the lives of women.
Noor Hassan was working as a manager in a food processing factory. She was overseeing a dozen workers in an experimental all-female wing that was part of a nationwide campaign to draw Saudi women to paying jobs. She went to a new job and she was supervising 10 times more people. Her salary went up as well. The women that Noor supervises work in an area that is off limits to men, but the managerial offices are mixed. As Saudis say, men and women unrelated by blood or marriage are in close proximity every day. They go to the same meetings and greet each other in a very formal way. The people there work closely with each other. Saudi Arabia is the most gender-segregated nation on earth. There have been pushes to make Saudi Arabia both truly modern and truly Saudi. This would entail working alongside men. Some women do not even consider the idea of working alongside men. But there are some who may be open to the idea, but are overruled by their parents or husbands who see things the other way. The women are not comfortable with working in the same space as men. Noor has established that she is not comfortable working closely alongside men, and she said, "The lady who is training me understands," Noor said. "I told her this is not because I have a baby and I'm worried about germs. This is religion. I can't touch a man who is not my father, my uncle, my brother. That's why." The media portrayal of Saudi Arabia has been bad since the attacks of 9/11. Since 15 out of 19 hijackers were Saudis, the media and government from other countries have not trusted them.
Most people living in Saudi Arabia are Muslim. They are mostly Sunni Muslims, except for a small minority of Shiite Muslims. Because of their religion, they have to follow certain rules that affect their daily lives.
One reason their religion affects them is because they have to wear modest clothing that complies with their religious beliefs. Men normally wear a checkered headcloth and women wear black modest clothing and head covers. Foreigners also have to wear modest clothing, but they don't have to comply with religious rules. The clothing affects their daily lives because it is how they see themselves and each other.
Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other extremist groups from Iran have been carrying out attacks on Saudi Arabia for decades. This affects the citizens' lives because they live in fear of these attacks. The groups are trying to take down the government and leaving Saudi Arabia in fear.
Saudi Arabia has been accused of funding terrorist groups such as ISIS. They have denied these accusations and have gone as far as to announce the formation of a new Islamic anti-terrorism coalition. This is a highly debated topic and many have opinions on the matter. This affects the country because the accusations hurt the country's reputation.
Bowing Nassar is an authority of Islamic fundamentalism. He believes that Saudi Arabia is the root for terrorism as they provide funding for schools, madrasas, that teach beliefs of terrorism or extreme religion. He explains, in order to have people who are willing to legitimize crashing yourself into a building and killing 5,000 innocent people, you need particular interpretations of Islam. Those interpretations of Islam are being propagated out of schools that receive organizational and financial funding from Saudi Arabia. In fact, he would push it further, that these schools would not have existed without Saudi funding. Also, he talks about people who have come out of these schools. He says, at best, they become hot-headed preachers in mosques that encourage fighting Christians in Nigeria or in Indonesia. And in worst case, they actually recruit or participate in terror acts.
In conclusion, terrorism, religion, and culture in Saudi Arabia have a huge impact on the lives of the citizens there, and also other countries.